Ms Benham.
Thank you, Chair. Morning again, Minister. Budget paper 3, page 124. Clear budget cuts shown for family violence service delivery from the revised budget. There's a reduction of more than $24 million. What services are being cut and who authorised it? Was that a decision that you and your department have made, or is this something that's been forced upon you?
Yeah, I don't have that. I don't know why. So, thanks for the question. The prevention of family violence portfolio consists of two outputs in the budget papers: family violence service delivery and primary prevention. Sorry, did your question go to prevention or in
Both.
general?
There's cuts in both, Minister.
The portfolio has a total output budget of $812.2 million across the financial year. This is a 4% higher than last year's.
No, 24-25 is 811 million. 25-26 is 786.
Yeah.
Comparing the revised.
I'm happy to
think
help
it's the other-
with the question.
Talking about budget
So the numbers that you're referring to, I guess there's 3 data points for us in terms of our output budget. There's our budget that's set in 24-25, which is usually about April before the financial year. And then there's similar for the 25-26 budget. So that's the best indication of our base
Secretary,
budget.
we know the figures. The figures are there. What I'm trying to get to is, are services being cut, and where are they being cut, and who made that decision?
So
the data is very, very clear with family violence and violence against women in this state. I am, as someone with lived experience, I am very concerned that there are services being cut.
So short answer, no services have been cut.
No service delivery has been cut?
No service delivery has
No
been
one's going to miss out?
There's been no service delivery cuts.
So what's the
I'm happy to,
please.
absolutely. So the 24-25 budget to the 25-26 budget. So if I look at the service delivery, that's the best indication of our base budget. So that is 748 million to 786 million. The revised budget are decisions that are taken post-May. So that could account, that does account in that 24-25 revised. There were some decisions after the May budget in relation to the women's safety package. There's some decisions in relation to the national partnership, and there may also be some carryover. So if we don't spend money in one financial year, we seek approval to move that into the next financial year. And you can actually see for the whole department, that's quite common across the whole department. So I can confirm there's no service delivery cuts, but it's not unusual for us to have budget movements throughout the year, which is what you can see in that revised.
Okay, I'm just, as far as the programs ending, there's no programs ending?
To be completely transparent, in the primary prevention budget, so you can see the 30 to the 25, there's 2 fixed term initiatives.
Which are?
They are the affirmative consent that Mel could give some more detail to, and there's some campaign funding from Respect Victoria that has been completed.
Been completed?
Yep. But I'm happy if you want to give a bit more detail. The Deputy Secretary has a bit more.
Yeah, I'd like a little bit more clarity on how we see programs in this space as being complete, because as far as I can see, they're never complete.
So, no, I absolutely understand the question. The Supporting Affirmative Consent program was always to be a fixed term project, so that was being led or coordinated through the peak body, Sexual Assault Services Victoria. It was for local providers to be able to build education approaches for the new laws that came in a couple of years ago now. So it shifted the model of consent in law to be a communicative model, so referred to as the affirmative model of consent. So there was quite specific funding allocated for that work to be done. It was always to be fixed term, and the providers have been able to produce a lot of material that will then be going into the Respectful Relationships education programs to be continued and embedded into those.
So is there another program to replace that? Because this is ongoing important work, and that, to me, there's budget movement and programs have been complete, but that still says, you know, you can say it's moving or whatever, that still says to me that there's not the work being done, or it's still budget cuts to me, as far as I can see, if it's not being replaced.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely understand the assumption under the question. I think for this particular body of work, though, there was never an intention for that work to be continued. It was to be able to build the resources in the first instance, and then to be able to embed them in the primary prevention activity that is happening across communities. So respectful relationships in schools, and sometimes in non-education settings, that work will go into those contexts. What was funded was to have a real boost, a real acceleration of building understanding of what the new consent laws were doing. But that was always then going to be. Now we know what they are. They'll be embedded into the curriculum and into the materials that are being used for respectful relationships.
Okay, but there hasn't been any other angles or programs identified that need to be delivered so that this can keep expanding and keep evolving?
Well, I think the work in prevention continues to evolve, and that work will absolutely be going into those contexts. So we've got primary prevention work happening, particularly in schools. Respectful Relationships program is now being delivered in over 2,000 schools.
No specialist projects?
There's multicultural agencies on the ground, up more than 30 that are delivering prevention programs across communities in a really grassroots sense. It's a brilliant program of work, actually. Local councils are driving work, women's health services are driving work in prevention. So all of that, and I guess the frameworks around prevention and Change the Story is the national Our Watch framework that we really use to guide our prevention approaches. We've got a 10-year strategy in the Free from Violence strategy. So all of that work is a big commitment.
Okay.
And I just want to make the point that, like, with the $123.2 million that we are investing, combined with last year's package, there's no other state that is spending more on primary prevention than us.
Thank you, Minister. We're